You're listening to the B&H Photography Podcast. For over 40 years, B&H has been the professional source for photography, video, audio, and more. For your favorite gear, news, and reviews, visit us at bnh.com or download the B&H app to your iPhone or Android device. Now here's your host, Alan Weitz.
Greetings and welcome to the B&H Photography Podcast. Today we welcome Alexis Cuarezma to our studio. Alexis is a California-based advertising, sports, dance, and fashion photographer and director, and he's here to talk about his dynamic lighting techniques. We're also going to pick his brains on topics regarding self-promotion, meetings with art directors and editors, and getting that next assignment. Just a glance at Alexis' work and you're going to realize why he's here to discuss his lighting techniques and why we're not the only ones who admire his work. He's shot for Sports Illustrated, including 6 covers, Fortune magazine, Ring magazine, the New York Times, and his clients include, among others, Nike. Welcome to the show, Alexis.
Thank you for having me.
It's good you could join us. Yeah. Oh, by the way, just a quick note to our listeners. In the second half of the show, we're going to be talking about a few of his photographs and how he achieved them. So what we suggest you do is check out his site or our landing page to take a look at these photographs. But let's start talking about your photographic techniques. One of the things that John and I picked up on when reviewing your work, doing our homework here, you're a big advocate of doing everything in camera, all of your effects, your filters, your lighting, stuff like that. A lot of people say, we'll just fix it later, post, but you're big on doing everything in camera, and I'm real big about that too. So, want to talk a bit about that?
Yes. One of the things on that topic that I like to say is that a lot of people in general tend to like options, or think that options are luxuries. You know, if you got like a million different options. I like to say I prefer clarity anytime over options. Because if you're clear on what you want, you could get it quicker, faster, more efficient. And options, I like to say, are just kind of noise. So all this stuff that you do is to give you more options in post. And I don't want to spend 3-5 hours in post deciding, should I change the color temperature there? Should I do this? Should I do that? If you already know beforehand how you want it to look, you could do a lot of those effects in camera.
But that requires understanding your gear, doesn't it?
Yes, that requires understanding. Well, that also requires having a point of view too.
Yes.
And not being apologetic. Yeah, and pre-visualizing that and knowing your craft. You could get away with not necessarily knowing your craft if you could build a good team and hire knowledgeable people around you. But even then, that's something that I don't like doing, because then you're at the mercy of somebody else's knowledge and their sincerity too. So, yes, because if you know the craft of that's one of the reasons why I'm getting into directing more, which I love. And directing is kind of like you have to know a little. It helps if you know a little bit of everything, like a little bit of sound, a little bit of lighting, and that knowing lighting has helped me out a lot and knowing what's achievable.
Gotcha. Now, this wasn't even in our little script here, but you mentioned directing and things of that sort. Are you finding yourself more attracted to moving images as opposed to still images?
I love storytelling, and there's just so much more creatively you could do with when you're directing. There's the camera movement. You could play with the light flickering or dimming on and off, and you have music too. You can have voiceover. It's just so many more variables that you have that give you more creativity, which is amazing. Again, if you have clarity on what you want. If you don't, then it could just be overwhelming.
That I think that's a really, really good point, because again, if you know exactly what you want, it's easier to get it, and it's a lot more efficient on time rather than just going in and just doing a shotgun approach and hoping that something good comes out of it. Yeah,
a lot of those things, unfortunately, happen because when you have clients and they're paying you a lot of money, they want to take control away from you, or they want to have options in post.
Yeah, but I get a little bit of crazy from that, because the way I look at it. And again, every situation is different and every client is different. You got personalities and everything else. If a client has a specific vision and they're hiring you for a very specific reason, because they know you can do something. They know that you're good. They know that you have a talent and a craft. And in most cases, I would assume that they're hiring you for your vision, for your clarity, and for your insight. And then they come in and they want to just take over the game.
Yeah.
So how do you handle that?
It's difficult because even very well-respected people, I don't know if you know who Bob Richardson is. He's a Academy Award-winning cinematographer, and he famously removed his credit from a movie because the studio changed the entire look without his permission and consent. So that happens to even, very notable people. And that's something that's going on in Hollywood too right now, because everything's digital and you could get previews right away that cinematographers talked about before when it was just film. There's a big debate on whether The Godfather will look how it was, if it was
Right.
if everybody was able to preview how it looked and
Lighten it up a little bit.
yeah, put
Yeah.
more lights on there. And because before it was kind of alchemy, you would have to just trust the light meter and only the cinematographer knew how it would look. So it's always a fine balance. What I try to do and how I handle that with clients is I always try to give them what they want. In addition, for me doing what I want to personally, and I give them both.
Well, I think that's the key thing. When the client has a very specific idea and they're paying you for that,
Yeah.
you got to deliver what they ask for. But I think it's also really cool if you can say, okay, here's what you want to do. Now let me play my thing. And how often do they end up going with your idea as opposed to their idea? Does that happen often?
Yeah, I'd like to say not all the time, but
Say all the time.
yeah.
Always.
But the first big assignment I had, or quote unquote big break, was the first assignment I did for Sports Illustrated. I think it was 2013, where Brad Smith he gave me the opportunity. I met him at the Eddie Annis workshop, and he hired me. He was with the New York Times originally. He hired me for a few assignments and went really well. And then he moved to Sports Illustrated. And he gave me a portrait assignment, which I was super thrilled for. But I remember when he gave me the assignment, he was, Alexis, I know you know how to light really well. Just get a gray seamless and light them really nice. And he gave me the whole idea of the assignment. And then he gave me some of the best advice I've ever gotten, which was at the end before he hung up after giving me the assignment, was like, Alexis, I loved you at the Eddie Annis workshop. I loved the work you did for me in the New York Times. I want you to be our guy in the Bay Area when we need portraits. And right after he said that, he gave me the assignment. He was like, keep it simple, have fun, and don't fuck it up. Right? And I was like, whoa.
Great advice.
That was great advice. And
ABC.
yeah, I didn't listen to him because
I knew there was something I liked about you.
yeah. So that's one of the things when I speak in college, right? I tell people, don't listen to anyone, listen to yourself. Because I remember when he gave me that assignment, being really excited, and I felt like he kind of stabbed me in the heart when he told me it needs to look this way and keep it simple. And I remember thinking, if I do just what he tells me, he'll be happy with it, right? The magazine could be happy. I know all my friends and colleagues would be thrilled for me. They're like, oh, you shot this for Sports Illustrated, congratulations. And the athlete would get that promotion. But I remember thinking, then what about me? Right? I'm not going to care. I don't care I'm not going to be proud to show that tear sheet because it looks nothing how I would want it to look. And then I remember kind of feeling cornered and thinking like, man, like I've done enough assignments to know where I don't want to waste my time doing my own look. Because I know if they tell you have an hour, they could leave in 15 minutes. And the shot list I had was like the length of my arm. They wanted a lot of different options. And I'm like, man. So I did extra homework on that one. And I figured out how I could do 2 lighting setups at the same time. And I shot them both simultaneously, like at the same time on the motor drive. And what it was is I put them on the speed cycler and the pocket wizard. And then so the first look was the one Brad wanted, and the second one was the one I wanted. And it was shot with a sports camera that shoots 10 frames a second. So it was a 2-shot burst. So you get 2 shoots at a fraction of a second. Oh, wow. So you get the same exact look. And so I did extra homework on that one on top of researching my subject, and then the one they ran was with my look.
That's great.
Which was reset. And then after that, I kind of got that I had to do that to kind of prove myself and show them, look, this is please hire me for what I want.
Right,
and then the next assignment, and after those, I've been given like just creative control.
Let me ask you this, because you even mentioned the idea of homework. If you have this clarity, this idea of what you want to shoot going in, there's a lot of prep time that comes with that. I mean, and that may be the flip side to the time that someone might spend on post. So what kind of homework do you do? What kind of testing do you do? What kind of setups do you do before that person comes in for their 5 minutes? Yeah.
So what I do, I know every photographer is different, and one of the biggest things I've learned the hard way is kind of you got to be self-aware. Because I've heard portrait photographers specifically say that when they photograph someone, they want to know nothing about them because they believe that the first 10 minutes you meet somebody are the most honest or this that does not work for me. And so I know myself well enough. I know that I don't listen well to them. So I do all my research on them. I try to find out everything. I Google them. I find out interviews they do. I want to know if they're married, divorced, have kids, love dogs, or anything. So I know also projects they're working on. So I have things I could talk to them about them and make that connection. On the lighting sense, usually if I get the story or anything, I could usually pre-visualize in my head how I want it to look, and then I just sometimes draw the diagram. And what I used to do is figure out, okay, I could do plan A, B, C, and C, and do like a bunch of different looks. But now I've done experience enough I start off every photo shoot pretending it's going to be a 30-second photo shoot, because I've had to do a few 30-second ones. And I treat it like that when they start. I pretend that person's just going to let me like take 7 pictures and then walk out. So I get solid stuff. I get a really tight headshot. I get a 3/4 shot. And if they're still cool after that, okay, cool. Then I could pretend it's like a 3-minute photo shoot. And
It's
get
all
the feeling for
gravy
it.
after that.
Yeah. And then
some of the homework that you do, like the research on the people that you're going to photograph, does that affect the lighting technique that you're going to work for, the look that you're going to go for? I mean, let's say you learn something about a character or a person, and you say, you know what, that idea I had in lighting, I'm going to change that up and do something like this because I just read something about them that I know.
Yeah, it does. What I do is, one of the things I like to say is I put my flaws directly into my work, and that's what makes it me. And I think that one of the best compliments I get is when people say, I know it's your picture without even seeing the credit for it. Yeah. And I think that's part of it. I put my flaws directly into it. So when it comes to photography or video too as well, yes, there are rules, and yes, there are things that quote unquote work, and like a 3-point lighting system and doing stuff like that. But I think it's better if you start putting your own meaning behind things. Like, right, you use colors because of what the colors mean to you, and doing that. So one great example of that is when I had a shoot with Chris Paul for the New York Times. The story was on his hands because he's the #1 defender. And he had to have a few surgeries on his hands because of all the, how beat up they were from doing that. And I originally, the idea how I wanted to light him was kind of hierarchy, how I did a portrait of LeBron James. And when I was setting up data in the media room at the Staples Center, that just didn't feel right at all. And I'm like, I don't think that looks going to go well. So I just like last minute I decided, you know what, the background needs to be all black. And I need to change the setup to, I had 4 lights because that's the original way I do it, and it ended up being just 3 lights. And I changed the look completely about it, and it went a lot better. It was like quieter look, and it fit the story better.
Maybe you can, there's, in a lot of your work, there's a lot of dark spaces, and they're beautiful, they kind of, they obviously highlight the lighting effects and everything like that. How do you create some of these dark spaces?
I would say 90%, if not 95+% of my images are 100% lit by strobes. So if the trigger doesn't go off, the picture will be completely black. Right. So I like lighting from the ground up and from scratch. And that's essentially how I do it. And then I just select the lighting either I control it with snoots, grids, or flags, and I just light what I want.
Gotcha.
Like that, yeah.
Interesting. Well, jumping back a little bit to what we started with, this idea. I mean, you must do some work in post.
Definitely. It's not. I get it as much as I can in camera, and in other things. One of the things that's also really important is to keep the momentum and flow going in the photo shoot. So a lot of times, and a lot of my works, it's believe it or not, it's a compromise on the images. I sacrifice any time perfect lighting to keep the motivation and flow going and get the moment and keep the momentum up of your talent. And then that's sometimes where you have to fix stuff in post. And sometimes you kind of just live with it. Like the basketball picture of the guy dunking, that's really great. Like that one, like those windows just like irritate me. Like, 'cause I wish I would have shot him on the other side or fix him, but I was like, he's doing that. He can only dunk a few times and you can't do it. But the shot's still solid.
And what about color? When it comes to color, will you touch and adjust, or that's the kind of stuff that you don't want to touch once you get into post?
The color I adjust. I try to get it in camera as much as I can, and then I finesse it a lot in post, because in post you could get the toning just exactly down to how you want it. But I usually I work with Roscoe gels a lot, and then I could pre-plan the color scheme just by laying out the gels and seeing how much color of each will give a good color pattern, and then I gel the lights on that.
How true is the fidelity in the end result when you see your stuff either in print or on a screen? The colors, because a lot of the colors you do are very, very subtle, little blends you do. Do most of them translate well ultimately, or do you ever look at them and go, it's not what I wanted to do?
Thankfully, I've never had issues with that. They translate pretty well.
Okay.
Because I know a lot of photographers have issues when they print stuff. They always say it never looks how they want it to look. And I've never had that problem. So it translates pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah. I just know if you look at the raw file, though, compared to the final file, the raws always look flat because they have all that. The pop I added on the final file.
But when the final image that you finally approve and send off, though, it's been reproducing fairly faithfully.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Actually, I'm looking, maybe we talk about this later, but I'm looking at that photo you mentioned of the guy slamming with the windows. Did you cover those windows a bit, or was that like that already?
No, so I see, that's the reason where I should have listened to my gaffer. It helped me out when I was getting the gear. Yeah. So on that one, I had two Profoto 10A packs. They're 2400 watt seconds each, and I had them at full blast. So when I was getting all the gears for that shoot, my gaffer was just like, dude, you should take 4 of them and use twin heads on each. And I'm like, nah, dude, I think that's dude. I think one on each side is plenty. It's 4 AMX. He's like, you should take 4 just in case. And I'm like, no, I think that'll be fine. And then I did it, and they were both maxed out. But since I gel them, and because of the distance that they have to be, I was I usually like to be ISO 100 f16 to knock out all the ambient light. On that one, I had to be, I think, ISO 400, like f13 or so, if I remember correctly. So having the other extra stop would have helped out a lot and bring down those windows.
Yeah.
And was your assistant the rest of the day going, told you so?
On that shoot, the gaffer, no, that wasn't there. But on that shoot, I actually didn't have an assistant.
Okay.
Yeah, I just I worked with Tyler, that's the basketball player.
Okay.
Who was amazing. He reached out to me. I met him, and he's 6'6", 6'7", has a 42-inch vertical, and I'm like, I don't know a lot of people like that, and he was down to do whatever I wanted, and so we did that shoot, and I did have a stylist in that shoot, and I did have a hair and makeup artist, and or a groomer, if it's a guy, you call it a groomer, and everything else I just invested in getting the gym and the lighting, and I'm not afraid to roll up my sleeves and get everything done, and I find that sometimes it's quicker because it's like I know what I want versus trying to articulate it to an assistant.
You seem to be really well developed in the use of gels. Can you speak a little bit about some of the stumbling blocks along the way of using gels, and of course some of the techniques you've picked up along the way? Yeah,
I think some of the stumbling blocks for people in general, or
using gels. Yeah, some problems.
I think the biggest stumbling block for people in general is they don't understand Kelvin temperature. They set the white balance.
I was just going to ask you, if you go to auto white balance, man, nothing works.
Yeah, it'll be terrible. So I'm manual everything. I mean, the main camera I shoot with is a Canon 5DS, but I also shoot with the view camera 8x10, or I have a Leica M3, and I like those manual cameras because there's no excuse. Right. Like, if the image comes out wrong, you can't blame the camera or the autofocus. Right, it's your fault if it didn't come out well. And for I think color, what people could struggle with a lot is they don't know, what 2500 Kelvin does. They don't know that daylight is around 5600 Kelvin, and if you drop the white balance, it'll look blue. If you increase it, it looks yellow. And that's something I play with a lot because I like warm, cool tones. And also, it's color theory. Like I learned that a lot in art class, and it just made me aware of colors. And I just give meaning to colors sometimes, and I just represent them, or sometimes I just want it to look cool. I like saying it has visual impact, and I just study complementary colors and pick the color palette out and then put it out with the gels.
So that's one thing you don't get on Instagram filters, is an understanding, seriously, is an understanding of the background of all of that stuff. Did you learn on a film camera or digital? Because you mentioned you're shooting with an 8x10. That's the exception of the rule these days. That's just not the norm. Yeah,
in college, fortunately, when I started, it was still on the cusp of transitioning. So I did do a dark room and develop my own film and everything, which I loved. And I loved the lighting class was shot on the 8x10 4x5 view camera, and we shot chrome.
And so you had to know what you were doing. You had a third of a stop of wiggle room for exposure.
Yeah,
and it cost you $5 a sheet and $5 to have whatever it is. It wasn't cheap to do that. So you have to learn photography, and I guess that serves you well now.
Yeah, I pretend every shoot that I do that I'm shooting 8x10 chrome. So that's how I approach the shoots on there. And
we're laughing, but actually that's an amazing discipline, and that really puts everything into perspective. It really does.
Yeah, and when you're doing that, it just makes you think of everything and doing it. And once I get the shot, I move on. And I've had models tell me about that when I work out, because other photographers will just keep shooting, and I'm like, if we get it after 3 shots and we get what I want, let's do the next setup.
Yeah.
And that's something that I need to.
It's really funny. In this room, we've heard everything from I want to work real slowly to machine gun. Yeah. I want to get 20,000 exposures per minute, and then I'll pick out the best moment. they both have they're both valid ways of working, but there's something to be said about working slowly like that.
And you mentioned the pro photos. Can you tell us what your general set is, your general kit that you bring with you for in studio and even for location? And
I don't have one. And that's one of the things I try to tell photographers when I speak in universities or anything. Don't be so concerned about how much gear you have, because that could be an anchor.
Yeah.
That could be a bad thing. Like, you're not never compete on gear, and you're gonna if you're gonna compete on, I have 7 lights or this camera, you're gonna lose to anyone that has access to a rental house, right? Because everybody
yeah,
have all
that's
that stuff. So what I always do is I usually have a vision, then I draw it out, and I always let the vision that I have dictate what gear I need.
Okay.
So that could be sometimes I need the setups, I'll need 10 lights, or I need 3 lights. If it needs to be mobile, like it could be a Profoto B1. Or if I need a lot of power on location, then you take a power pack and a power generator if the budget allows and the time allows. So that's generally my approach.
And you rent most yourself?
I do. Yeah. What I do have is I have Profoto B1s.
Okay.
And because I could get the most mileage out of those, they're portable and I can use them indoor, outdoors.
And they're easy to just run out the door with.
Yep. I mean, I got this. So those are I buy the gear that I could get the most mileage out of.
Would it be safe to assume that you try to build your lighting systems for each shot using as few lights as possible?
No, I build them to execute whatever I have in my mind.
Okay.
So without compromise, and then as much as I can without compromise. And then I'll start with a dream list and then kind of let reality sink in. Like, right, if the client could provide all the budgets for it, awesome. If not, if it's an idea I really love, I'll go out of pocket from it if I really love the idea and I could get that shot. So I like to say my biggest asset is that I go off on emotions. And my biggest flaw is that I go off on emotions too. What I mean by that is that if I have an idea of an image like the basketball player or anything or directing, I always think of the end product and how I will feel when it's done and I execute it. And I never think about how much work I have to do. So sometimes I have to beg, borrow, steal, do whatever, or go, or put it on a credit card or whatever and get it done.
Otherwise, you're just doing passport photographs, taking your attitude, right?
Pretty much. Yeah. And I'd say that's my that helps me out, that emotional part. And then the downside to that is, it's like, damn, sometimes it's like, dude, you could spend a lot of time on just doing one thing, which is not necessarily the best thing.
Yeah, but that's also what makes your work unique, is the fact that your head does work that way. Otherwise, you're just another hack, and there's plenty of hacks out there. There's plenty of people who could sit.
I'm sitting right here, man.
No, seriously. I mean, there's no shortage of people out there who could sit somebody in front of a camera and take a portrait of them. There's no shortage of that. However, to get people who actually will take it and interpret the person and do an interpretive portrait, that's something that requires skill and talent and a little bit of imagination.
You talk a little bit about the difference between working in studio and on location in terms of the lighting setups that you use, and not necessarily the lighting setups, but the decisions you're making when you're there.
Yeah, I there's plus and minuses to both. I love in studio because it kind of feels, compared to outdoors, very luxurious. Like, you're in a controlled environment and you get 100% of control of everything. And you could almost, I could argue that you could pretty much almost do everything in studio if you have a big enough budget. Because you could build a set and make it look like a sunlight. You can make it look like the outdoors, especially not even with video now. Some of the technology out there is absolutely amazing.
And you can make a sunset last 12 hours.
Yeah, and then when you need to. Yeah. There's that basketball portrait with Tyler. I'm working on doing another video with him, and I scouted out a basketball court in San Francisco where you could see the sunset. That's perfect. But since it's a personal project that I want to do to direct more, right, I had to shoot it out in San Francisco and wait till sunset and shoot it. And I know if it was someone talented that I had a client with, or if I had enough budget, I could recreate that indoors if I wanted to. But like, since I don't have, it's a personal project and a client's not paying for it, I can't do that. So I have to, the cheaper way is to actually go get a sunset or go see a sunset and find a location and get it like that. But like the studio, I love it. You get the control, you get all the power you need if you have the studio. And that's the plus side to it. And the outdoors, I love them for, you could get blessed by a beautiful cloud, beautiful sunsets that you could never expect, or happy accidents could happen. You could get wind, it could rain, and that could seem like a down, something bad. But like if it gets all the concrete wet, you'll get beautiful reflections, and that would never happen in the studio in a controlled environment.
Right.
But as far as gear goes, for like it becomes a little bit more of a logistic things for outdoors. It's like, okay, if we're gonna go out, the ballet dancers have shot them all in studio, and I want to shoot them in I forget what it's called, but this place in north of San Francisco that has beautiful view of the clouds and the sky, and it's quite a bit of a trek up there. So that you have to keep in mind how much gear you could carry realistically. You know, how many light stands, and all that stuff like that. So that's what I think that you have to consider when you're on location.
Right. One of the things that you, one of the videos I was looking at, you did a series of photographs for a personal trainer, a young lady who's a trainer.
Yes, Ashley.
And I was looking at the pictures. The pictures you took are very bold and dynamic. They're really wonderful shots. And then you also posted a lot of the production stills and videos of setting up. It was an ugly, dreary, boring day. It was an ugly day. It was the kind of day, okay, let's put this off. But you really made a lot of things happen between the way you lit and the way you gelled. It looked nothing like reality. I mean, I was pretty impressed by how you took that and made it really strong.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. That's why I like to say I'm not a journalist or a lifestyle photographer, because I don't like I said, I put my own perspective and point of view on things.
No, you have to understand your equipment to do what you do. You can't. That's not just luck. Not at all.
And you said you use strobes mostly, but have you worked with LEDs?
I do.
What do you think about LEDs? Yeah.
LEDs are great, and I'm excited for the technology coming out. I've worked with a lot of light. I work with HMI. I love HMIs. They're my favorite lights. But they're expensive. They draw a lot of power, and it take about 15 minutes to warm up.
Yeah.
So you can't do a hard strike on them, and you can't dim them, which are things I love doing when I'm doing video. But
and they have a very short lifespan.
Yeah. Well, I've heard also if the UV filter wears out on the bulb, it could literally burn your talent. So it could be pretty dangerous too.
That's true. Yeah, I mean,
Ron, their HMIs come with each bulb comes with a little warning that I forget how many hours it's guaranteed for, but it's not many. It's only a few dozen hours. And then it says after that, the tube is subject to non-passive failure. That means it can blow up.
Yeah.
But non-passive failure, that was the most amazing phrase I'd ever seen in my life. I love the way they worded that. But yeah, the lights are terrific.
Yeah, and the quality you get from HMI is always going to be different from an LED because it's an unstable filament in there. That's why it's like the sun. So it renders on the skin differently than the LED will ever do. So it'll give you a different quality if you could be if you got that, eye that you could see at. But again, that's the trade-off for it. And there's some amazing stuff coming out with LEDs that they're just portable. That's
the thing. Yeah.
The basketball stuff I'm doing with Tyler, I did 2 tests for that. And I lit an entire basketball court at night with LED lights, which just blew me away because I'm like, if that technology didn't exist, and those LED lights have they're from a company called Light in Motion. They have the batteries built into them, so there's no wire, there's no generators or nothing. And I just remember thinking, wow, if this was 10 years ago, I would need HMI and power generators, and it would be a whole huge production versus just me testing it with Tyler.
So a lot of your photos have kind of this multicolored ambient glow, and lighting obviously is important in that, but what about your settings? What about depth of field? How do you control that? Is there some aspect of the settings of the camera that help that?
Yeah, so for my images, one of the last things I like to use for visual impact is shallow depth of field. Generally, I like to have everything in focus. And when you have everything in focus, you have to put a lot of effort and thought into your composition and what's in your frame. When you're doing stuff for photographically, right? The way you could photographically abstract something is you could blur it out, which is a short depth of field. You could underexpose it, you could overexpose it, or you could distort it visually with a lens. And I like to play with all of those. And the one I like to play with the least is the shallow depth of field, just because I feel it's the easiest and it's the most overused. And the only reason you would do that is if you have a really distracting background and you have no other way to abstract it. You would shoot really shallow and then you're just abstracting it. And I'm just not a fan of that. So I used visual contrast, I used color contrast, I used composition to give the image visual impact. Like if you look on a lot of my images, everything's in focus, but it still hopefully draws your attention and you hopefully still like it. And other people just rely on a shallow depth of field and that's it to make their images And I just think that's just, if the narrative calls for it, it's great. But if you're just doing that because that's all you know how to do and you're being willfully ignorant, then then I think you're selling yourself short as a creative and doing that. Because I've done shots at night that look just like they're shot with available light.
Quick question before we wrap up for this half. How'd you get into sports? I mean, how'd you get into sports photography? Let's put it that way.
That's what I was going to ask.
I played sports in high school. Yeah. I played football. But I was never really a good athlete. I probably played because my older brother was a really talented athlete that came naturally to him, never to me.
And he couldn't take a picture to save himself, right?
My brother's a really smart guy. He's a computer guy. He does like internet security. But him and I are way different. So yeah, he doesn't really care about that.
One got the right brain, one got the left brain. Right?
Yeah, but he's smart. He makes all the money.
Yeah, but you're having the fun.
So yeah, and I guess the sincere answer to that is that's what I had access to because when I first got into photography, my little brother played baseball, so I just photographed his little league games, and my sister played JV basketball at the high school I went to, and that's what I shot. I started shooting Little League, and I started shooting my sister's high school basketball games, and then football because I played football. And that's not originally what I wanted to do, is be an action photographer, like Mike Zagaris.
Yeah,
he used to be a huge inspiration for me. And I photographed, like the first year, I photographed like every single football game, freshman, JV, and varsity, and just to get practice. And I just focused on doing that.
So you knew early on photography was your thing, high school anyway.
Yeah, and that.
But that's also a very different type of photography than what you're doing right now, though. So your subject is the same, but what you're doing is different.
It's night and day. Yeah. So for the action stuff, I just found that I love creating something from scratch and something unique. Because what I found with action stuff is it doesn't matter how, like when you shoot like NFL games or NBA games, it doesn't matter how cool you think the shot you got, how unique it is. You're not gonna get anything unique where everybody's focused at a pitcher or a football player, and there's like 30 really talented photographers all shooting the same thing.
Yeah.
You could try to get a unique angle, which I thought I have, and then you go to the wire services and there's like 3 pictures like it, and which is fine. And I do sometimes reportage work like that, which is great because you get to follow someone around, and it's different than creating. That's more documenting, and it does. But if I had to pick the two, I like to say there's a difference between taking a picture and making a picture.
That's it.
And I would say reportage work or doing that, you're taking the pictures because everything is almost set up for you, and they're gonna play there, they're gonna compete there or fight there, and you're documenting that event. And making a picture, like some of the stuff that I do, is kind of going in sometimes to a bathroom and making it work and creating something unique there. And if I had to pick the two, I could live without taking a picture the rest of my life, but I can't live without making one.
All right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Alexis about some specific images and how he goes about getting work here in the Big Apple. Stay tuned.
We hope you're enjoying this edition of the B&H Photography Podcast. The best way to support the show is by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. For links to gear and more information on today's guests, check out the show notes in your podcast app or visit our homepage on the B&H Explorer website and join the B&H Photography Podcast Facebook group. And now, back to the show.
We are back. We want to talk about a few of the pictures, and John, you had a couple in mind that you wanted to get into.
Yeah, we have a few in mind, and again, like,
where do you want to start?
Ask some of the listeners to take a look on either on the homepage or go right to Alexis' website. But the first one I wanted to ask about is it's the covers for Sports Illustrated, which were the United States Women's National Soccer Team, and it was a series of 4 shots, right? And they have these smoke or powder effects that go along with them. Can you talk a little bit how you made those? Yes.
So that idea, it was conceptualized between Brad Smith and the art director from Sports Illustrated. Mm-hmm. And what we were trying to figure out was how to represent Team USA without using the flag. Because that's what they used the year before with the men's cover, where Clint Dempsey has the flag, and then they did the other countries, and every player from that country had a flag. So what they wanted to do that year was avoid using the flags. So they were asking for ideas, and we were trying to come up with things to do. And then the art director from Sports Illustrated, Chris Hersig, I believe, I think I might be butchering his last name, came up with the idea to use powder. red, white, and blue powder to do in that. And then once we came up with that idea, it was my idea. It was my job to execute it. And so when that happened, I just had to start researching. I reached out to a prop stylist about an air cannon and holy powder and or what powder to use. And she
You don't want to use chili powder. I know that. You know.
Yeah. So that was really important getting a prop stylist and doing that because she told me she did research on it. And she's like, yeah, it has to be shot outdoors. Because she told me there was that holy powder is the one that they use for those marathons.
Yeah.
And she told me that stuff's actually really bad to breathe in.
It is very bad to breathe in, yes.
And then she also said that it's extremely thin. So if you use it indoors, she was telling me that a photographer used it indoors in Los Angeles. And they just use that powder, I guess, in the air cannon or whatever. It's so thin that it went through to their equipment room. And it ruined all the lenses and lights.
Oh, jeez.
And that photographer was liable, or insurance was at least liable for that. So she's like, we're going to have to find a way to do it outdoors. So, and you could do it in camera. I've seen photographers do that in camera, and do it with models, but there's no way in heck I'm doing that with a professional athlete. If it gets in their ears or their eyes, it's the end of my career.
They own you.
Yeah, it's I would be known not for good reasons.
Yeah.
So what I ended up doing was renting a parking lot in LA for a church, and I shot like 37 gigabytes of plates just on a motor drive, and the powder, like all different kinds of explosions, different angles, and then I shot the athletes I think a few days before, and they're on white seamless, and they were composited together.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. Yeah, and with the athletes, did you just have like a few seconds to get each shot, or were they?
No, the women were amazing actually. So for the women's U.S. national team, they were such a pleasure to work with. I had 10 minutes with each player, which is an eternity.
That's a luxury.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is. And people always ask me who's been my favorite athlete to photograph. And I always have mixed feelings about that because Carly Lloyd for that shoot was so accommodating and so amazing. She came up to me, and because for every shoot, what I do is even if it's a hotel or anything like that, I bring out my portfolio books, and I have it out. I make it like it's my own studio. And if I show them something, like I show it to them in print, because that makes an impact. So I was showing them my books and everything like that. And but in the mix of it, like I didn't get to talk to Carly Lloyd, so she just came up to me and she's like, "Hey, I saw your work. I really like it. I think you do amazing work." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." So when her turn came up, she gave me as much time as I needed. I think I shot her for like 25, almost 30 minutes instead of the 10 minutes. I actually ran out of ideas to do because it's like when you're not, that's actually happened to me before because when you get in such a mindset that you only have 30 seconds or 1 minute or a few minutes with someone, you're like, I'm going to do this, and that, and I got to, be quick. And then sometimes it's like, oh, damn, I got more than 5 minutes. And the reason why I feel like I have mixed feelings like that, because she was amazing, but like, I just felt like I didn't do her justice. I was like, man, I wasn't like, she was really accommodating, she was really nice, and I'm like, I just feel like I could have done better on those photos for some reason. I don't know why.
Don't you just hate it when they give you more time than you need?
I guess so. Yeah,
they're very inconsiderate. Some of these people.
Now you have this really great photo, in my opinion, of a whole group of athletes. I'm not sure they're high school or college athletes.
That's high school. That was a personal project I did in my old high school.
That's your old high school. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to honor
athletes of all different stripes.
The best student athletes on that one. And I love doing groups.
It's hard.
And it is, and it takes a lot of time. So like my approach to groups is for those shots, the way I do them, because I like to do them different than your standard team and individual or anything.
You go in for backlighting a lot, very strong backlight with shadows coming forward, I noticed.
Yeah, so that's
a great dynamic.
Yeah, so that's all part of like the composition, having leading lines. Because if you look at that shot, everything's in focus. The windows in the very back are sharp, and so are the shadows going forward. So if you're gonna have everything in focus, like you have to use other elements, visual elements to give it visual impact. So you use composition, leading lines, and lighting, overexposure, underexposure, all that to grab the viewer's attention. So
do you remember what the settings were? I mean,
so those were that was f/22. That was shot with a Hasselblad digital back. So I had the 40mm lens, the Hasselblad, the widest one they have. And that it was max top down all the way. It was, I believe, it was f/22 ISO 100 at 500th of a second.
At 500.
Yeah, to cut
everything's in focus with that lens at f/22.
Yeah, because
it's all there.
A 40mm on the Hasselblad is equivalent, I believe, to like a 28mm on a 35.
Now, how many lights did you have behind them?
I had 2 lights behind them. So that one was 1, 2, 3, 4. It was 7 lights.
Okay.
So it was 2 lights behind them that were bare, and then kind of 2 rim lights to create separation. And in the front, it was 2 large 5-foot soft boxes and 1 octabox in the center to be able to light them. And then your light placement is really important. Those lights in the front were feathered.
Okay.
So they don't hit the floor, because
Right.
I don't want to light the floor, because otherwise you're going to see
right.
those shadows. And then the lights on the side have barn doors so it wouldn't flare the lens. And the ones in the back had nothing on it, because they're being covered by the people,
The athletes,
by the
yeah.
athletes, and then the mist too as well.
Right.
So
That's another question. Working with smoke machines and mist, is that has its own challenges, I'm sure, but
it does. And,
And it's also not good to breathe.
yeah, I heard. So for like the ballerina shot with Christine, we shot at Santa Monica College. And thankfully we shot it on, it was a holiday weekend. I forget which one it was, but we shot that on a Sunday. Thankfully, the school was empty because we made the fire alarm go off. So all those photos with the that are look really cool on that one were while kind of the alarm was going off, and thankfully her fiance was there helping us out.
Yeah,
because I wasn't aware of this. I just kept shooting with Christine, and she was cool, and we shot. But it was like a legit fire alarm. Like it was sounding like the I had only one pocket wizard on one of the lights, and the other was going off on a slave. I had to turn that one off because the flashing alarm was making that strobe go off and on again. So that one an image that I have on there, that's one of my favorite ones that only has one tone, is because I had to turn the light off because of the fire alarm.
Oh, gotcha.
And then Alex, which was her fiance, told me that he went out, he called the campus security and told him, hey, that's us, we did it, it's not a real fire. And then he was saying he was going to the elevators, and tarps came down in front of the elevator doors, because you can't.
Can't
So it was like a legit fire alarm. Oh my god! And like I said, thankfully we shot that on the Sunday because the building was empty.
Right.
We did the interview at that place the following day, and that school was just packed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if we would have made the alarm go off that day, it would have been so embarrassing, because they would have to evacuate that entire campus. So
You just would have done a very large group portrait outside. That's all.
Right. So that's something I'm aware of now. Is haze and all that can't make a fire alarm go off. I did it Palm Springs too earlier this year. I met a model there that was amazing. She was modeling for Dan Winters, I believe also Frank Unkenfeld, and I think Nadav Kander too as well. I met her. She was super cool, and she was looking at my work because Bay Photo was displaying it there. So I introduced myself to her, and she told me she's photographing for all those people. And I was like, oh, and you're also modeling for Alexis too now. And we hit it off, right? And then I wasn't planning on shooting. So thankfully, Canon was there, and I was able to borrow a camera from them. And I needed lights, and Light and Motions were there, so I borrowed their cameras. Yeah. So I didn't have haze, right? And I didn't have anything like that. So I still wanted to do that effect or something similar. So what I did, I had the brilliant idea of just we could let the shower run.
Oh, okay.
Right? And so I let it run in the hot water to build up the steam.
Right.
And then I opened the door, and we're shooting that. We ended up shooting that because she had long days to model for other photographers. So we started that around 11 at night, or almost 11 at 30 when we got to that setup. And then the fire alarm went off. That set off the fire alarm in the apartment. And then it wouldn't go off. It wouldn't turn off, right? So I go to the front desk, and I'm like, how the hell am I gonna say? And I'm like, I went to the front desk, and I was like, hey man, the fire alarm won't turn off. He's like, dude, just take off the battery. And I'm like, isn't that legal? I'm like, all right, whatever. So I go up, I take off the battery, and it still won't turn off. I mean, because they're hardwired in hotel rooms. Yeah. Right. And then eventually it got turned off. But the model was super cool and amazing. Yeah. She's one of the best models I've ever worked with. Yeah. She was just really cool about it, thankfully. And she was just like, damn, your neighbors must really love you now. But those are things you got to be aware of when using that. Yeah.
So do you have an image on your website as part of the section called Motion Poster with a ballerina? It's a combination of still photography and video. Can you talk about that one a little bit?
Yes. So one of my dream clients or clients that I work for is HBO. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that a photo producer told me is that now they're looking sometimes to, when they hire photographers, how good they shoot motion campaigns or vertical video. Mm. And I always like to say, you only need to tell me once, right? So I started doing, looking into that, and that's something I wanted to explore. And I started just learning After Effects. I had an idea how I wanted to do it, and someone named CM De La Vega had an amazing, if you go on YouTube and you search motion posters, he has tutorials on how to make them or how to use After Effects. And he doesn't have a tutorial on how to do what I did, but I just was able to get the concept on how he does them to do my own thing and put my own twist on it. And I did that. So now I kind of try to incorporate that on every personal shoot that I do, just to build up that body of work. Right. And it's really important. And that's actually something that I've been meaning to do, to go down in LA and build an entire catalog of just like kind of vertical motion videos using kind of the LED lights, the light and motion lights, right, and shooting them at 120 frames a second vertically on the either mirrorless camera. I tend to use Canon because I like their color profile. And again, that's having clarity too, because it's like with video, having clarity helps you out immensely, because you don't need to shoot raw video, because shooting raw video on the red camera sounds all great and sexy, but like the back end of that is an insane amount of space. You need an insane amount of computer power. Mm-hmm. Whether if you could shoot it, if you know what you're doing, you could just shoot it C-Log or just build everything into the footage. And if you could get the lighting right in camera, you have it done.
Right. Cool. You have a portrait of Hunter Strickland, the pitcher for the Giants. I'm not sure he's still playing for the Giants, but anyway.
He just won a World Series, actually. I think he's with Washington.
Oh, he's with Washington now? Okay, all right, I didn't know that. Okay, cool. And it's pretty cool, and it's kind of different from a lot of your work, but the lighting of his eyes and the several takes that you have, including underneath the baseball hat, which can't be easy. How'd you get that?
Yeah, the baseball hats, the one you're wearing, that like stress me for shoots, because it completely affects your lighting. Because all lighting is predicated on an anatomy of a person having a nose, right? Butterfly lighting, loop lighting, Rembrandt lighting, all that a person needs to know. You can't light a dog or a lion like that, because they don't have that feature. And when you put the bill of the hat, eliminates all of that. Yeah. So
I wore this hat just to mess with you today.
So I like knowing he was gonna wear a hat, it did change my lighting a little bit. So instead of I usually use a grid, like a 5-degree grid or a 10-degree grid overhead to give you the loop lighting that I like, or butterfly lighting. So in that shoot, what I did instead is I used a medium softbox, a 30 by 40 Chimera softbox, and I love lighting from underneath. It's just my preference, and that's how I was able to light that one.
Mm-hmm. You're in from California, here in New York for X amount of time, and one of the things you're here for is to drum up new work. Mm-hmm. Now, it's not always easy to see people. It used to be a piece of cake to just pick up a phone and talk to somebody and come in and show them work. It's a lot more complicated
I've
now.
heard it used to be easy, yeah.
Yeah, it used to be amazingly easy, not anymore. And also, we used to carry around large portfolios, and it was like an amazing thing when sudden digital came out. You could just carry little tablets or anything and just show stuff electronic. I remember the first time I dropped off a CD with images on it, my own custom label on it, and it was like, wow, that's amazing. Now I have to buy a computer to look at it. What do you use? You mentioned books a few times.
Yep.
Solid portfolios, print books. Is that what you're using now?
Yes. It is. I still print my books, and it's very important for me because it gives you a good presentation, something tactile that the person could see. And the colors it's just, every meeting that I've been able to get when I could go in a building, whether it's HBO or a New York Times, they've always, if they like the work, they've always passed around that book to another editor or to somebody else, and they've never passed around my iPad before or computer.
Right,
so that's
I've seen that, yes. And there's something being able to go back to and refer to. And also it's that larger size and format. Yeah. And the tactile thing, it doesn't go off when the power goes off. It's there.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that seems to be making a comeback again. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, well, all the editors see your images tiny on Instagram, and they see them on your website, and seeing them in print with whatever paper you choose. The printing is a whole nother art form, and a whole nother beast. You got the color, the ink you want to use, the paper you want to use. It all affects it, and a lot of the times the print could come out shows a lot more details. Like a print is less forgiving than the image that's digitally just viewed, and you could miss a lot of things just when it's on the little tiny screen on Instagram. Like I have a new shot of a ballerina with 2 shadows that I did. I haven't posted it yet digitally, but I have it in my book, and you could appreciate. You could see the lipstick color that's red, and why I kept it with color because of the makeup artist put, and you could appreciate that in print, and you can't really see it on Instagram or on the website much. So little details like that make an impact, and you want to make an impact and be memorable when you're meeting somebody that wants to hire you.
Especially when there is 80,000 other people out there trying to get the same job as you.
Yeah, I noticed you also have your promotional little book
That
here, your
brochure, which is nice. It's like your own magazine.
Yep. Postcards. You do bring your laptop and you bring headphones with you
Yes.
for motion, so you kind of bring everything you might possibly need, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
and how much would you say of percentage-wise, if you want to go that way, of your time do you spend drumming up business in that form?
What I always like to try to say, at least, is that I try to spend as much time promoting and marketing my work as I do making it.
Yeah.
Or if not, if anything, it should be double the time marketing your work as you do making it. Because if you're the best photographer in the world, or if you have the best images in the world, and nobody knows you did them, you're just as useless as someone who sits on the couch every day and doesn't do anything. Like, you can't be. It's so funny being for me that I'm a photographer, because I always like to say I'm way more of a lover than a fighter. But if you want to be an artist, you kind of almost have to be a fighter and your own champion, because it's like you have to market your work. You have to kind of be unapologetic, and that happens on with everything, even with people who want to work with me. Like, I did a shoot with a brand from Nicaragua called Milka Roja, and I met with the president in Miami, the president who runs the company. We had a great meeting. He liked my work, and everything was set forward. And I still had to follow up with him like 3 or 4 times to make the shoot happen. And it's like you can't be shy about it. You have to go out there, promote your work, market it, and if no one else is going to do that for you. And I think a lot of photographers or quote unquote artists need to get over it. Be like, dude, you need to. And the way I like to see it, or what I tell myself at least, is the reason why I need to show my work and go around is because I'm humble. Right? Because I like to say, like, how arrogant do I have to be like, oh, dude, I only show you this once, and I expect that I'm gonna get hired 100 times. It's like, nah, dude. Like, I could think my work is great.
It took me a while to find out it doesn't work that way.
That's a great point.
So at least that's what I tell myself. I'm like, because if I'm not showing my work consistently and a lot, then that just means that I'm being arrogant, and I think that, oh my God, I think I'm so amazing. People are just going to automatically hand me work. No one's handing me anything ever. Like, everything I've gotten, like HBO took me 2-3 years to get consistently going there. Sports Illustrated 2 years. ESPN, you would think is like my bread and butter. That took me 4 years to get. Anything worth having, you just have to be prolific at it and consistent. One of the things I tell students when I speak, and I hate saying this because I'm such a stickler for quality and doing good work and executing your vision, is that you could almost get away, in my opinion, with doing C work, but being really nice, right? Being kind and thoughtful, which sounds generic, but most importantly, follow up and follow through with people and stay in touch.
Professional. Yeah.
That right last thing I think is the most key thing about that, because it takes a lot of perseverance and consistency. Do you work with a rep? It sounds like you do all of your own hustling.
I don't work. I used to have a rep, but reps represent the whole roster. Yeah. And I have no problem picking up the phone and going after clients or doing spec work or doing what I need to do. So not yet.
See, most creative types, and I don't think I'm wrong in saying this, I'm willing to say 75% of creative types don't understand that and don't know how to do it properly. They don't know how to promote themselves and sell themselves. And I think that's just part of being a creative type. You don't think in those terms. Whereas most people who are business-oriented can't draw a straight line. Yeah. Which actually doesn't mean anything, because in nature there are no straight lines. So I just wiped that whole argument out.
So you mentioned briefly there that some work you did with a Nicaraguan company, and I know you come from Nicaragua, but you mentioned when we met last time a project that you're working on. I guess it's a very personal project.
Yes.
You want to tell us a little about that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's funny to kind of piggyback on that last thing on there. That's one of the reasons why I market my work, and I'm not almost unapologetic about marketing my work, because it's like the opportunities that I have here. It's like my parents gave up so much to come here. I came here when I was 6, because I was born in 83, and in 79 Nicaragua went through a revolution, and they had a dictator that was overthrown, but it was taken over by another dictator that was a Marxist. So I was born not necessarily the best time. You know what I mean? Literally, my mom was telling me, like, in the hospital when she gave birth to me, she had to share a bed with 2 other women on a communist hospital. So that's how bad things were. And there's no baby pictures of me because there was like no film available, nothing available. And the way things were there in the 80s were, if you didn't support a political party, you weren't allowed to shop at supermarkets or anything. you'd have to wait in line to get your rations or whatever they would give you. So in '89 is when I came here when I was 6 years old. So that is the reason why I have the opportunity to make photographs for a living. A lot of photographers say they're problem solvers. And I like to say, if your biggest problem is figuring out how to light something or logistics or something, that's not a problem. I like to say I'm a privilege solver. Because like at the end of the day,
I love it.
No one is dying, nothing bad. You know what I mean? So it's like,
love it.
Like sure. Right. And why I don't mind putting in time or doing all that stuff, because it's like, well, poor me, I'm going after my dream, right? You know what I mean? It's like no one's gonna feel sorry for me. But so that's part of the reason why I like for the marketing part that I just go out and do it. But the project I did is that dictator that was there in the 80s. He went back in power again. He's been back in power, I believe, since a couple of years. But the thing is, he kept pushing the human rights violations so much. People were protesting, and they just started executing people. So it just got really bad again, like it was in the 80s. And it's the same guy that did all the stuff. And so Miss Nicaragua 2016 came to the United States and got political asylum, thankfully. And we did a project together to bring awareness of what was happening in Nicaragua, which is great because it made the news down there and it got published in a newspaper. And that's the personal project I've been most proud of. But it was also really frustrating too, because I like to be on that project. I did not want to be an artist. I wanted to be direct and directly address the person who's doing all that and everything. And I couldn't, because the way that government is right now, taking power over everything. To give you an idea, the current Miss Nicaragua, or at the time that was happening last year, 2018, she brought out a white dove during the Miss Universe pageant to kind of to try to represent peace for Nicaragua. They saw it as an attack against the government because she's not supporting it. Right. So what they did is they shut down her parents' business in Nicaragua. And then they also didn't let Miss Universe run in Nicaragua because she wasn't supporting the government. So to give you, that's what they do to you. So when I was working with Marina, like we had to be really kind of indirect and abstract on the things we wanted to do. And that was really frustrating for me. You know what I mean? Doing that, because it's like, damn, I'm still kind of being silenced and oppressed, even though he's 3,000 miles away. And that's just really frustrating, because I like to say, if you're afraid to speak the truth, then you're not free. Right. And that's a project that's really rewarding, but at the same time, kind of double-edged sword that is kind of a little bit frustrating. Yeah. But I'm proud of, and I'm still trying to figure that out. I want to continue doing that work, but it's I'm going to have to use the last thing I want to do is use models that are not Nicaraguan. But that's probably what I'm going to have to do, and not have that connection on there,
for their sakes.
Yeah, because if you do that, then that's how a coward stays in power. They won't threaten you; they'll threaten your family or someone innocent. Right. You know, and that's the frustrating part that I was trying to figure out and deal with.
Wow. Yeah. All right, Alexis, the hour goes by real fast here, and we covered some great stuff, and there's probably a lot more things we could talk about, but we don't have time. For our listeners who'd like to see more of your work, where can they go?
Everything is myname.com. Alexis Cuarezma is my website.com. And that's ALEXIS. And my last name is CUAREZMA. Hopefully there'll be a link in this, but everything is my name.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have links on the
Twitter,
show page.
My Twitter, my Instagram is all my first and last name, including my YouTube channel. And on my YouTube channel, we're filming this podcast, so I'll put up clips of it, or the whole thing, or I'll figure something out in a way you guys could see it there too, or like little quick 5-minute sound bites, so you can get what you need. And check out these tutorials. They're on the YouTube channel, right? Yeah, I do a tutorial. I have a breaking down the vision, and I draw on the pictures, and I talk about how my thought process and everything. Great stuff. Totally.
Cool. Very good. All right. That's a wrap of another fine show, if I may say so myself. If you are not a regular subscriber to our show, all you have to do is head on over to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Overcast, or Spotify and sign up. It is absolutely free. And you can also find us on the B&H Explorer website, as well as the B&H Photography Podcast Facebook group. For now, I am your host, Alan Weitz, and on behalf of John Harris and Jason Tables, thank you so much for tuning in today.